Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadari Yashodhana Dana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodhana Dana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadari Yashodhana Dana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodhana Dana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Shri Radha Madhava ki, Shri Shri Radha Radhanath ki, Jaya Om Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Parivrakacharya Stotra Shata Shri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki, Senapati Bhakta Srila Prabhupada ki, ISKCON Samstapakacharya Srila Prabhupada ki, Mantra Upasaka Srila Prabhupada ki, Preeminent Shiksha Guru Srila Prabhupada ki, Savior of the whole world Srila Prabhupada ki, Jaya Om Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Parivrakacharya Stotra Shata Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki, Guru Premanande, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 12, entitled Dhruva Maharaj Goes Back to Godhead. Text number 37. You can repeat after me. Shanta, Sama, Drisha, Shuddha, Sarva, Bhutanu Rajana, Yanti, Anjasachyuta, Padam, Achyuta, Priya, Bandava, Shanta Samadrisha Shuddha, Shanta Samadrisha Shuddha, Sarva Putanurajana, Sarva Putanurajana, Yantyanjasachyuta Padam, Yantyanjasachyuta Padam, Achyuta Priya Bandava, Achyuta Priya Bandava, Shanta Samadrisha Shuddha, Sarva Putanurajana, Yantyanjasachyuta Padam, Achyuta Priya Bandava, Shanta Samadrisha Shuddha, Sarva Putanurajana, Yantyanjasachyuta Padam, Achyuta Priya Bandava. Samadrisha Shuddha, Sarva Bhutanurajana, Yantyanjasachyuta Padam, Achyuta Priya Bandava. Shanta Samadrisha Shuddha, Sarva Putanurandana, Yantyanjasachyuta Padam, Achyuta Priya Bandava. Shanta, peaceful. Samadrisha, equipoised. Shuddha, cleansed, purified. Sarva, all. Bhuta, living entities. Anuranjana, pleasing. Yanti, go. Anjasa, easily. Achyuta, of the Lord. Padam, to the abode. Achyuta Priya, with devotees of the Lord. Pandava, friends. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada ki. Persons who are peaceful, equipoised, cleansed, and purified, and who know the art of pleasing all other living entities, keep friendship only with devotees of the Lord. They alone can very easily achieve the perfection of going back home, back to Godhead. Purport. The description of this verse fully indicates that only devotees are eligible to enter the kingdom of Godhead. The first point stated in this is that devotees are peaceful, for they have no demands for their personal sense gratification. They are simply dedicated to the service of the Lord. Karmis cannot be peaceful because they have immense demands for sense gratification. As for Jnanis, they cannot be peaceful because they are too busy trying to attain liberation or merge into the existence of the Supreme. Similarly, yogis are also restless to get mystic power, but a devotee is peaceful because he is fully surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and thinks of himself as completely helpless. Just as a child feels complete peace in depending on the parent, so a devotee is completely peaceful, for he depends on the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A devotee is equipoised. He sees everyone on the same transcendental platform. A devotee knows that although a conditioned soul has a particular type of body according to his past fruitive activities, factually everyone is part of the Supreme Lord. A devotee sees all living entities with spiritual vision and does not discriminate on the platform of the bodily concept of life. Such qualities develop only in the association of devotees. Without the association of devotees, one cannot advance in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, we have established the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Actually, whoever lives in this society automatically develops Krishna consciousness. Devotees are dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead is only dear to devotees. On this platform, only can one make progress in Krishna consciousness. Persons in Krishna consciousness or devotees of the Lord can please everyone, as evident in the Krishna consciousness movement. We invite everyone without discrimination. We request everyone to sit down, chant Hare Krishna mantra, and take as much prasada as we can supply, and thus everyone is pleased with us. This is the qualification. Sarva Putanu Ranjana. As for purification, no one can be more pure than devotees. Anyone who once utters the name of Vishnu immediately becomes purified, inside and outside. Yasmaret Pundarikaksham. Since a devotee constantly chants the Hare Krishna mantra, no contamination of the material world can touch him. He is therefore actually purified. Muchi haya suchi haya yadi Krishna bhajer. It is said that even a cobbler or person born in the family of a cobbler can be elevated to the position of Brahmana, Suchi, if he takes to Krishna consciousness. A person who is purely Krishna conscious and who engages in chanting the Hare Krishna mantra is the purest in the whole universe. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Be'evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamami Hari Priya. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. The verse again. Persons who are peaceful, equipoised, cleansed and purified, and who know the art of pleasing all other living entities, keep friendship only with devotees of the Lord. They alone can very easily achieve the perfection of going back home, back to Godhead. The goal, or the ultimate goal for the conditioned soul, is to go back home, back to Godhead. It's here in this verse, and it can be found in many other purports as well. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness also has a magazine called Back to Godhead. If you study the purports and the literatures by Srila Prabhupada, the factual idea is that you and I, the conditioned souls in this material world, have been disconnected from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this movement, Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Ki, the Hare Krishna movement, founded by Srila Prabhupada, has been created for the conditioned souls to reawaken our love for God and to reconnect our relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This process by which we can link up with the Supreme Lord, Krishna, is called Bhakti Yoga. In various places, Prabhupada will call this process Krishna consciousness or devotional service. And as a byproduct of this process, the opportunity to go back home, back to Godhead is made available. Right at the beginning of today's purport, Prabhupada says that only devotees are eligible for entering the kingdom of Godhead. To be a devotee means you must have already established some form of relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The minimum requirement is to have faith. Further into the purport, Prabhupada says, only by the association with devotees can one advance in Krishna consciousness. The more advanced you become in Krishna consciousness, the better the chances of choosing to go back home, back to Godhead. The important point in this regard is that going back to the spiritual world is a choice. Whether you remember the Lord or chant His name at the time of death, or if Chaitanya Mahaprabhu forces you to remember Him and His holy name, the choice to go back home, back to Godhead, is still up to the individual living entity. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is not going to interfere with your free will, nor does the Supreme Lord want an artificial relationship just because He has the power to influence everyone and bend them or us to His will. There's a very nice pastime, something like a side story in the Ramayana, It revolves around a great sage named Vishwamitra. Vishwamitra is introduced in the Ramayana as a Brahma Rishi. Just like how you get a Raja Rishi or a saintly king, a king that's as good as a Rishi. Likewise, a Brahma Rishi is considered to be a saint even amongst first-class Brahmanas. Vishwamitra was such a highly elevated person, but that wasn't always the case. Vishwamitra wasn't born in a family of Brahmanas. He was born into a family of Kshatriyas. Vishwamitra was even a king. However, his motivation to become a great sage was brought about by a one-sided grudge that he had with Vasishta Muni, who was also a great sage. Once Vishwamitra, as a Kshatriya, was on an excursion in the forest, and for whatever reason, he was in need of resources, and he accidentally found the home of a Brahmana. It just so happened that this place was the home of Vasishta Muni. Vasishta, who is learned in the culture of the Vedas, received his guest and treated Vishwamitra with first-class reception. And Vishwamitra, who was impressed and curious to find out how a Brahmana living in a forest was able to produce all kinds of produce as if he was a wealthy man. And without hiding anything, Vasishta admitted that he was able to make such an impressive supply because he had in his possession a Kamadhenu cow, a wish-fulfilling cow. Being impressed by the potency of the cow, Vishwamitra tried to negotiate a purchase from the Brahmana. Unfortunately, Vasishta wasn't selling, and Vishwamitra left in dissatisfaction. Later on, Vishwamitra returned to his kingdom, and then he came back to Vasishta's hermitage with an army. Vishwamitra made his intentions clear that he wanted to take away the Kamadhenu cow. Seeing itself in danger, the cow sought protection from Vasishta. Vasishta, being a Brahmana, told the cow that he was not a violent person and he couldn't help her. But then he told her that she can use her own powers to protect herself. And so the Kamadhenu cow produced an unlimited supply of army forces, which then proceeded to beat up Vishwamitra and his army. Having been defeated and his pride as a Kshatriya tarnished, Vishwamitra developed a grudge against Vasishta Muni. After finding out that Vasishta was a Brahma Rishi, a great sage, Vishwamitra made a decision to compete with Vasishta Muni and also become a great sage. And so that's what Vishwamitra did. He left his family, his wealth, his kingdom behind and entered seclusion in the forest to practice meditation. There was a series of events that took place while Vishwamitra was meditating, and each of these events caused Vishwamitra's meditation to break in some way or another. After thousands of years or even tens of thousands of years, someone disturbed his meditation. Because of that, Vishwamitra became angry and began to utter curses and so forth. But afterwards, Vishwamitra realizing that becoming angry was a form of contamination, Vishwamitra took a vow not to get angry. Thus he left his place of meditation, which he considered to have become impure, to find a new place. Another time, Vishwamitra was somewhat successful in his meditation. Lord Brahma had personally come to give Vishwamitra a promotion. Lord Brahma told Vishwamitra that from that point onwards that he'll be known as a Raja Rishi. But Vishwamitra replied that he doesn't want to be a Raja Rishi, he wants to be a Brahma Rishi. So Lord Brahma told him to carry on with his meditation. And Vishwamitra started meditating for many more years. That's inconceivable to our understanding. Just like how Vishwamitra was able to attract the attention of Lord Brahma, he was also able to attract the attention of Lord Indra, the king of the heavenly planets. And so Indra, who thought that Vishwamitra was a threat to his position, sent an apsara to distract Vishwamitra, and Indra succeeded in that arrangement. Vishwamitra ended up starting another family, and for many years went on enjoying life as a householder until he remembered that he gave up one family as well as wealth and a kingdom to fulfill his desire of becoming a Brahma Rishi. And Vishwamitra became upset, but he didn't become angry. Instead, he chose to leave that household life. And he went to find another place of seclusion to carry on with his meditation. Vishwamitra moved to a new place. He began his meditation all over again. And again, he spent many years absorbed in his practice. Unfortunately, this time, the place where he created a hermitage for himself was near a kingdom. And the king that was there at that time was going through a particular internal conflict. The king was under the impression that he wasn't good enough to be promoted to the heavenly planets. He didn't feel like he was able to earn enough piety to go to the heavens after death. But somehow or other, he found out that Vishwamitra had a hermitage near his kingdom, and so he hatched a plan. The king's plan was to get one of the great ascetics to forcefully promote him to the heavenly planets, and Vishwamitra was his target. The king understood Vishwamitra's background and knew that Vishwamitra's weakness was his rivalry with Vasishtha Muni. The king asked Vishwamitra to send him to the heavenly planets, and naturally Vishwamitra refused. Vishwamitra, who had gone through several obstacles, had no desire for any more distractions to his goal of becoming a Brahma Rishi. That's when the king pulled out his trump card. He pointed out that if Vishwamitra could not send him to the heavenly planets, then it must mean that he's not as good as Vasishtha Muni. And so Vishwamitra became agitated. He didn't like the idea that he was second to his rival. Then Vishwamitra used his mystic power to send the king to the heavens. The king started to rise from the ground and was being elevated to the sky, going higher and higher the king was disappearing from view. Then suddenly the king came crashing down. Indra, the king of heaven, did not want people who weren't qualified to enter the upper planetary systems to be smuggled in. Now there was a fight of sorts between Indra and Vishwamitra. And Vishwamitra was trying to send the king up to the heavenly planets, and Indra was sending the king back down to earth. And from this description of the pastime, and looking at it from a third-person perspective, it looked more like a game of tennis. And to the king's misfortune, he became the tennis ball that was going up and down between these two personalities, Indra and Vishwamitra. Because Indra wasn't going to relent, Vishwamitra became fed up. He still had the pride of a Kshatriya, and for him to fail would be an insult to his pride. So Vishwamitra had a crazy idea. Vishwamitra decided to create a heaven that was parallel to the one that was already existing in the upper planetary systems. And that's what he did. He created a heavenly abode with its own set of demigods. And Vishwamitra's plan was to dump the king into that heavenly place. Unfortunately, creating an entire heaven with its own set of demigods had its own consequences. To create such a realm of heavenly planets with its own set of demigods, all of Vishwamitra's karma was used up. That means from the time he was born and all the innumerable years he practiced austerities was reduced to nothing as the alternative upper realm heavenly planets was created. And because he used up all his karma and he didn't have any merit to maintain his creation, and he didn't have any pious merit to even maintain his own life, Vishwamitra Muni was about to pass away. He was about to die. But luckily for him, Vishwamitra remembered the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he chanted the names of Vishnu just as he was about to die. And immediately the Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared. Lord Vishnu appeared in front of Vishwamitra Muni, and the first thing that Vishnu did was relieve Vishwamitra from the burden of maintaining an alternative heavenly planets. And conversing with Vishwamitra, the Lord promised that he will maintain this new heavenly creation. Then the Supreme Personality of Godhead asks Vishwamitra what he wants to do. And Vishwamitra replied by saying that he wants to become a Brahma Rishi. So Lord Vishnu revitalized Vishwamitra and let him be on his way. Now that Vishwamitra, who was revived, had a clean slate, he had to restart his austerities all over again. And so countless years had passed, but this time it was peaceful, without any disturbance. And on a fateful day, Lord Brahma appeared, and Lord Brahma had finally given Vishwamitra that promotion of becoming a Brahma Rishi. Vishwamitra, who was a Brahma Rishi, was reminiscing on the struggles and obstacles that he had to pass before getting his position, the grudge that he once had with Vasishta Muni came to an end. Vishwamitra had the impression that since he struggled so much before he became a Brahma Rishi, then Vasishta Muni must have also worked very hard to become who he is as well. And Vishwamitra started to have appreciation for his rival. Also, while remembering his past struggles, Vishwamitra remembered a very important detail. He remembered that he was on the verge of death, and he called for the Supreme Lord with all sincerity, and the Lord appeared before him without fail. Vishwamitra remembered his biggest mistake, and that was he could have went back home, back to Godhead at that time, but he didn't make that choice. Instead, he was obsessed with his material desire, which led him to make the wrong choice at the time of death. The reason why I brought up this pastime was to make a parallel between these great personalities, Dhruva Maharaj and Vishwamitra Muni. They both started their journey with a grudge, but their experience in life was very different. For us as devotees, we also going to have similar experiences at the time of death, or when we meet the Supreme Personality of Godhead or His representatives. We can have an experience like Dhruva Maharaj, where all of one's material desires vanish. Or you can have an experience like Vishwamitra. Even after meeting the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we could also end up maintaining some form of material attachment, and thus making the wrong choice of not going back home, back to Godhead, and thus taking birth again. Another point to be made, when Vishwamitra started his journey, he was all alone. There was no one to look out for him, and Vishwamitra's journey was full of trials and errors. Whereas for Dhruva Maharaj, on the other hand, from the very beginning, he had someone guiding him. First it was his mother, then his spiritual master Narada Muni. Even when Dhruva Maharaj was emotionally caught up with his brother's death, and he went to wage war against the Yaksha race, the leader of the sages at the time, Swayambhuva Manu, who was also Dhruva Maharaj's grandfather, guided him out of his material entanglement. In the purport, Prabhupada makes the point that advancement in Krishna consciousness is dependent on the association of devotees. This is a very important point. Developing friendship with the devotees is going to change the probability of whether you have an experience like Dhruva Maharaj and go back to Godhead, or take birth again because of some attachment to some desire. We can also look at the life of Bharat Maharaj. He left his family, wealth and kingdom, preparing for the end of his life. He reached the stage of bhav, but what happened to him? He became attached to a deer, and in his next life he got the body of a deer. And the senior devotees explained that if Bharat Maharaj had the association of devotees, what happened to him would not have happened. The association of devotees is very important. And as this verse says, we must make friendship with the devotees of the Lord. So I'll stop over here. Any questions or comments? Yes.
Thank you for a wonderful class. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada, as you mentioned and emphasize, discusses very few essential aspects of Krishna consciousness, which you also mentioned in terms of association, the power of the holy name, and how one can instantly be purified by the association with the holy name. So and you mentioned the example of a few examples, at least in terms of Dhruva Maharaj has been exemplary. A pastime comes to mind that illustrates the power of association, the power of the holy name, and also going back to Godhead. Janak Maharaj, who was the father of Mother Sita, he was a great devotee of Lord Ramachandra, and when he was on his final moment, leaving this world and going back to Godhead, the same thing like in Dhruva Maharaj's case happened. A spiritual aeroplane came, Vaikuntha Airlines came, and Janak Maharaj boarded the Vaikuntha Airlines, and he asked the pilots, are we going direct or are we going via? So they say, no, we're going direct to Vaikuntha, like Dhruva Maharaj was going direct to Vaikuntha. So he said, can we go via? So they said, well, I guess so. So he said, I like to go via hell. I want to go visit hell. So the Vishnu Dutas, they said, oh yeah, well, you can't deny the wish of the pure devotee. So they took the Vaikuntha aeroplane to hell, and they were approaching the gates of hell, and they arrived at the gates of hell and stopped there. And the breeze that touched Janak Maharaj's body, the breeze that was flowing past, touched Janak Maharaj's body and entered into hell. And as soon as all the residents of hell came in contact with that breeze that touched Janak Maharaj, who was a pure devotee of Lord Ram, at that point they could not feel any of the suffering that they were experiencing in hell. So if they were, for example, drinking hot molten lead, then as soon as they touched that breeze, they felt no pain. Those that were embracing a hot molten form of a woman, they felt no pain. So practically they were all relieved of pain. And when they felt that relief from pain, they could understand it was due to Janak Maharaj, and they started to pray to him that please, if you stay here, we will be very happy. There will be no pain. So Janak Maharaj thought, okay, good idea. I'm able to serve them and I'm able to relieve them of their pain. So he told the pilot, I'll make my residence here. After a while, Yamaraj comes on the scene, and we know Janak Maharaj is one of the Mahajans, and Yamaraj is also one of the Mahajans. So Yamaraj comes to Janak Maharaj, they greet each other, and he says, Maharaj, you're not meant to be here, you're meant to be in Vaikuntha. And Janak Maharaj said, no, I'm happy here, and I'm able to serve these souls, so I'm making my residence here. And after some discussion, Yamaraj says, no, but this is not how the Lord has arranged. Those, like souls like you go back to Vaikuntha, and souls who are miscreants, they come to hell for punishment. So, this is the arrangement. And Janak Maharaj says, but, isn't there a way that they can be relieved? And Yamaraj says, well, there is. One time when you were, chanting the holy names of Lord Ram, you were chanting the names of Lord Ram with the intention of giving that benefit to the ancestors and the souls that you were meditating on. So if you chant the names of Lord Ram and meditate like this, you can deliver these souls. So Janak Maharaj immediately chants the names of Lord Ram and prays that all the piety and devotional credits that he had accrued is given to the living entities there in hell. And instantly all the living entities in hell assumed forms, and they all went back to Vaikuntha. So it's an interesting story to show the power of association, the power of the holy name, and here the residents of hell didn't even desire to go to Vaikuntha. But by the power and potency of Janak Maharaj, who created that desire within them, they were able to be relieved and went back to Vaikuntha. So I thought that was an interesting story to share.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you. So, when Vishamruta created the second heavenly planets, that means this is taking place within the current ether where we are.
Yeah.
So it doesn't interfere with the already existing, or does it take energy from the existing energy?
Everything is being maintained by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So for him to maintain a second heavenly planets within this material, in this one material universe, is like nothing.
So what you then say is he uses all his karma.
Yeah,
Yes.
Vishwamitra.
Yeah, yes, I wanted to differentiate between the two, whether it's karma or piety. Because how would we live if he doesn't have karma?
Piety is good karma. And so when you're born, you get that body based on your piety. And if for whatever reason that piety is taken away or reduced, you won't have anything to maintain this body, and so you'll be forcefully ejected from the body. I can't think of anything else.
So, technically, there's two aspects. So one is piety is called subtle wealth. And for you to have anything in this material world, anything in this material creation, in terms of gross matter as an asset, like Vishwamitra wanted a planet, heavenly planet, which is also gross matter. So in order to purchase anything of gross matter, you need subtle asset. And piety is subtle wealth, subtle asset, subtle wealth. You must have piety as the purchasing power to buy wealth. If you need to buy a car, then you have to have the pious punya to be able to get the car first, and then you can gross wealth to buy the car. So that's piety. Karma, we generally use karma as action, reaction, or past activities. Bhagavad Gita, in one of the chapters, Lord Krishna describes and Prabhupada expands that actually karma, technically, karma is that specific piety that gives you a material body. So if, for example, one is living in heavenly planets, one is exhausting one's piety, and just before that piety reduces, there will be karma that is left that then gives you a material body in this material planet. So that is karma. Yeah. So in this case, Vishwamitra exhausted his piety, and you could say, due to his past karma, he accumulated the piety, which he then exhaustedly used to create the planet.
Thank you for that, Prabhu. So, to maintain that particular planet, would he still need more piety?
Yes.
He'd need more
He
piety.
would need more.
Krishna, he didn't have, so Krishna helped.
So does it still exist?
The question is whether it still exists.
Yeah.
Krishna said he'll maintain it. So it should be around. Any other questions or comments? We can follow Prabhupada's instruction here, where we can sit down and chant Hare Krishna and take lots of prasadam. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ke, Srila Prabhupada ke. Yes.